and not much is written about him because the royal stutter is a source of embarrassment. Stuttering was considered a speech defect, and if you had a speech defect, you were by definition a defective person. You couldn't have the King of England being a defective person, so the royal stutter is swept under the royal carpet. But nonetheless, Lionel Lowe kept on appearing, and there was one reference to him that was a little bit strange. It sort of implied that he wasn't a doctor, didn't have credentials, didn't have formal training, and I thought, there's my story. So I had a friend in London who I asked to do some detective work, which I think consisted of looking at the telephone directory, and she came up with the name of Valentine Lowe, one of his sons. He's the one in the movie whose nose is always buried in the textbooks.
Right.
And he had become an eminent brain surgeon, to the delight of his father, who had always felt put down by the British medical establishment. So Valentine was now a very elderly gentleman, retired eminent brain surgeon from Harley Street. And I wrote to him, and he said, yes, come to London if you want. I'll talk with you. And I have all the notebooks my father kept while treating the king. I thought, this is the mother lode. This is, these are the Dead Sea Scrolls. But he had a little caveat. He said, I will do this, but you must get written permission from the Queen Mother. So I wrote to the Queen Mother and got a lovely reply on buff-colored stationery with a big red stamp of Clarence House saying, Dear Mr. Seidler, please, not during my lifetime. The memory of these events is still too painful. And I knew what she meant. It was her grief over the loss of her husband at a very early age. He was in his early 50s when he died, because he had the stress of being the reluctant king, a position he wasn't trained for, wasn't suited for, and she just didn't want to be reminded of what had happened. And I felt, as a Brit, I had to respect that. If the Queen Mother says, wait, you wait, or you go to the Tower of London, And I didn't think I had that much long to wait. She was a very old lady at the time. I thought a couple of years, 3 or 4 at the most. 25 years later, just shy of her 102nd birthday, she left this mortal realm. And that's why it took so long.
Wow. Finally. So this could have been perhaps nominated for the Oscars perhaps maybe a decade or two ago.
Yes, but I doubt...
Had we not been blessed with a longer life for the Queen Mother.
Yes, but it probably wouldn't have, I'm sure I could have written a script when I was 40, or in my early 40s, and it probably would have been, a fairly reasonable script. I'd written Tucker at that age. But I don't think it would have been the same. This required going back into the pain and the loneliness and the isolation and frustration of being a stutterer. And being a stutterer is rather like having a very bad toothache. When you've got the toothache, all you're thinking about is, wow, my tooth really hurts. All I can think about is that pain. As soon as you get to the dentist, and the dentist fixes it, the last thing you want to remember is how that tooth aches. You just blank it out. The mind forgets it. And the same thing with stuttering. Once you get control over it, it's such an awful experience to be a stutterer that once you've got a handle on it, the last thing you want to do is remember what it was like. But as a more mature writer, let me put it that way, when you start looking back on your life, it is easier, I think, to go back into the past. And therefore I was able to really put my head back into being a stutterer, which I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So I think it made it a better script.
Bread and butter.
Excellent. Let's see the...
What are you eating?
Tortilla soup. It's really good.
Soup.
You should definitely have it if you like tortilla soup. It's very, very good.
Maybe try that.